Welcome to the Feeling Good podcast. This episode is all about goal setting. We're here to break the all or nothing mindset in fitness and nutrition, how to get back on track without the guilt spiral. Welcome to the Feeling Good podcast with Alex and Sam. Welcome to episode 1 of the Feeling Good podcast. I'm Alex.
And I'm Sam.
And we're so excited to be here. We both love short form content. I love putting my workout videos out there. Sam loves putting her high protein recipes out there. But we both consume a lot of long form content driving in the car, podcast, folding laundry, podcast, going for a walk, podcast. So we're thrilled to be entering this space and building a community that we can't do on other platforms.
Exactly. This is a space for us to connect with everybody on a deeper level, but also we just love consuming podcasts. We love to also talk about those podcasts together. And so this way we're able to open up a larger dialogue and maybe share some of the useful conversations that we have in private more in public. So, Alex, what kind of snack or beverage did you bring today?
Okay, so Sam and I wanted to bring a little snack and beverage to our podcast. I have actually been loving maple vanilla lattes. Okay, that's my go to right now. It's my jam. If I'm ordering it from a coffee shop, I like it hot and with whole milk. I did recently, this last week, make maple vanilla syrup at home so that I could do these coffees at home. I know, it's delicious. So at home, I don't have whole milk, but I do have 2%. So I used cold brew, like a jug of cold brew, store bought cold brew, 2% milk, and then my maple vanilla syrup, and no snack for me.
Well, that sounds great. I've never known you to make a syrup, so I'm very impressed. I brought a couple different beverages. The first, I haven't even told you this. I am obsessed with Topo Chico. It is currently my front runner for sparkling waters. So good. So I'm obsessed with Topo Chico.
I
And
call
then I
it
also
the spiciest water. I think I love Topo
yes.
Chico because it is the spiciest of sparkling water. It just hits you like I don't know, a tornado. It's my favorite.
And I'm such a sparkling water snob now. It's one of probably the most frequent things that I will order at a restaurant as far as other than water. And if someone brought me a Perrier, I actually would be disappointed.
Oh, okay. Well, I
Because
do
to
love that
me,
water too.
that's the most lame sparkling water. But anyway, moving forward, I also brought a little coffee. I love my protein coffee, so I did add a little bit of protein to this. And a snack that I found a couple of days ago, I already ate it so that nobody could be disgusted by any chewing or rumbling sounds
There
on the
will be no
mic.
chewing. All my misophonia listeners, you don't need to worry. There will be no chewing on this podcast.
So, true to honestly form, if I bring a snack to the airport, I'm eating it before I get on the flight. I also will do that now. So, I ate my snack before our podcast, and I've recently discovered the Prime Bites protein brownie, specifically the glazed cinnamon roll. It is so good. And I think that that might be my next adventure in the kitchen is to try and make something similar because yes, it's so good, but $3, 3.50 per, a little bit of a splurge, and I think that I can do better.
This is a real look into our relationship. I feel like our friendship because it is very on brand for you to have brought protein coffee and a protein snack, and for me to have made maple vanilla syrup and made my, very delicious coffee, but very different coffee. This is so on brand. I feel like this is exactly what they're going to get out of this friendship between us is realizing how completely different our fitness journeys are and how different of a path we've taken to get to where we are. Would you say that we're more different than we are alike, or would you say we're pretty similar, but we have some vastly different traits?
I would say we're very similar, and I say that because we travel, I think, pretty well together. We have very similar interests. We don't clash on a lot of things, but And we're interested in a lot of the same things, fitness, nutrition, feeling good. But there are like little things that are just so completely different. Like I have such a view of like food and nutrition, like I monitor it and I'm aware of it in a way where I know it just doesn't register with you. And same thing even sometimes with training. Like I bring a different level of intensity to things that I think you're just so balanced and well-rounded, where I tend to be a little bit more intense.
I think that they'll come to see those differences, but this was a perfect prime example. I was actually hoping you'd bring protein coffee just so I could say that, and honestly, I knew you would bring it, but that's perfect. That is absolutely perfect. They will see those differences over time, and I feel like it's great that we have such different not necessarily views because we do view fitness and nutrition very, very similarly. We just our
Mhm.
approach is a little bit different.
Approach is a little bit different, and a lot of that approach, I think, is behind the scenes. Like, you wouldn't look at us and immediately see, "Oh, they're so different," but it's because I know you so well and I know myself so well, like, I can piece apart those differences, and also, like, some things I'm really intense about, you're not, but you're also intense in other ways.
Absolutely. And I feel like this is perfect for everyone that's listening because everyone's approach, every single person's approach is going to be so different. So, hearing different stories, different experiences is going to help everyone in different ways because we all have our own fitness journey.
I think that's one of the most frustrating things about, and I hate calling it a fitness journey or a health journey because it sounds overplay. I don't know. It's just one of those things that I think has been overworked through social media, through whatever. But one thing that is really frustrating about a fitness journey or health journey is that there are so many different ways to arrive at somewhat the same outcome. So it's like, okay, I want to be in a deficit. Well, you could track your macros, you could try keto or intermittent fasting. Like those are all ways that you could potentially put yourself in a deficit. It doesn't mean 100% that you are if you do those things, but those are three different approaches to arrive at potentially the same final conclusion or the same place. And that's really cool that there's so many different ways to approach the same thing, but it also can be frustrating because everybody just wants to know what's the thing for me. And I've tried all of it. I've tried keto, I've tried intermittent fasting, I've tried carnivore, I've tried all of the things that I thought might work, right? And I learned from each and every one of those to arrive at what does work for me. So yes, it can be really frustrating because what is that thing that works? But it's gonna be different for everybody.
Which is why we're hoping that you can maybe learn from our experiences. And I know that you have to make your own mistakes along the way. Like, there's just no way around that. But hopefully, taking our experiences will help you navigate that a little bit better. What do you feel like are some mistakes that you made along the way? Or maybe not even mistakes, just things that you maybe wish you could have navigated a little bit better?
A big mistake that I made just from the jump is, and this is my personal opinion, of course, but it is something that I reflect on and realize that my approach was dictated by this mindset that I had, which was I would be the most happy, confident, healthy version of myself if I was at my smallest. And so I said, that version of myself looks like this instead of, I want to be the happiest, healthiest, most fulfilled version of myself. What does that look like? So I put the eggs before the chicken or the chicken before the eggs, whatever it is. I think that order of operation is so important because, and not everybody will agree with me on this, but to me, the best and happiest, healthiest version of myself is the version that isn't sleep deprived, isn't starving, has energetic, fun, strong workouts, gets to go out to eat and not feel anxious or stressed. And all of those things are encompassed in me feeling and being at my best. And so, whatever version of myself that looks like is what I've grown to desire instead of thinking that the happiest, strongest, most confident version of myself is my smallest. Instead, I've flipped it kind of upside down.
I feel like that leads us perfectly into New Year's resolutions, into New Year goal setting. It is the new year. This is
Mhm.
coming out in January. Episode 1 releases in January. So, everyone, not everyone, I shouldn't say that. A lot of people are setting New Year's goals, and a lot of those goals will be somewhat fitness related. So, I feel like it ties
Mhm.
perfectly into that. So, how are you feeling this new year?
I feel great. I do this thing where I look back at every month and I kind of like pick out my favorite photos, videos from that month. So from 2025, and create my own little highlight reel of the year. I look back, I'm grateful, and then that just makes me excited for 2026, like how great it's going to be. Look at how great 2025 was. Now, that's not to say there were not any slumps or bad parts of 2025, but it allows me to just focus on the good. And I think that, I mean, thoughts become things. Your energy is so contagious. So bringing that energy, the positive into 2026, I think is really powerful. So I feel great. How do you feel?
I feel good. And I really do want to do that because I think that we can sometimes only remember the harder times. So being able to go back and picking out those fun times ends the note, like ends the year on a high note and then starts the year on a high note, which is I guess if you wanna manifest a great year, you should probably start it off on a good note. I feel good. We should talk a little bit about New Year's resolutions, about our past New Year's resolutions, because they don't always
Mhm.
go according to plan. I'll say for me personally, they definitely don't go according to plan. So, do you think you are a New Year's resolution type of person?
I do. I set them every year, and that's actually been something that I used to do a lot when I was younger in maybe a more destructive way, but I've shifted into a more productive way with how I look at New Year's resolutions, but I also have a much more sturdy foundation that I kind of live on as opposed to I feel like when I was young, it was like, okay, I have this goal or at the time, I wanna be really skinny, and it would last for, like, a couple of months, and then I would be at the new year being like, "Oops, I guess I'm doing that one again," and it was just this cycle, this toxic cycle of kinda going around and around and around, and now I kind of look at them a little bit differently as, life time goes by so fast. And how can I maximize this year? What planning do I need to do to make sure that all of these things that I want, and not just that I want today or this day, or I'm, at the bottom of the barrel after the holidays of being like, oh, I drank too much, I ate too much, I haven't slept, I haven't worked out. When you feel your worst, you tend to try to be really drastic with things, but that kind of pulls me back to like my foundation. I feel like I have a stronger foundation that I don't have those big ups and downs. And so my goals are more in alignment with the routines and the foundation that I have, as opposed to feeling this strong pull at the end of the year of like, well, I have to reverse what that just was.
Right.
Long story short, yes, I do like New Year's resolutions, but they are different in years past. Or do you feel similarly or different? I feel like you don't really do New Year's resolutions or you never really have.
I don't think that I'm a New Year's resolution person. I probably in the past have written down things that I thought I wanted to do that year. And then very me. I don't know where I wrote those things down, and I probably never returned to those again and probably don't remember what I wrote down. So clearly, just not very structured goals. And that's just how I operate a lot of the time. I do want to be a little bit more organized this year and maybe write down some things. And we'll do some practical takeaways at the end where we can really get clear on
Mhm.
how to set good goals and how to then achieve said goals because if you're like me and you never return to the goal you wrote down again, then obviously it's really hard to achieve those goals. Or if you're like Sam, where you maybe have been writing goals that don't really align with the life you actually want to live. We'll definitely do some practical takeaways. I watched something, I don't know if you saw this, but it said something like, how great does it feel to be starting the year just continuing the things that you've already been doing versus having to do this start over thing that has happened for a lot of people year after year after year. And it kind of makes me feel like what you said, where you're starting from a new foundation when you're writing these goals. You have
Mhm.
this like strong foundation that you've built for yourself, and then you've wrote down these new goals that support the foundation that you've built, and you're starting from
Mhm.
a more advanced place than you were previously.
Yeah. Yeah, the perfect example of that is us running a marathon, and I have made goals regarding races before. When I did that in college, it was, okay, what's gonna get me motivated and create some, like, strict rules of, like, okay, if you're gonna do this thing, you have to do the training. So it was, like, kind of my way of, after being a sports person, an athlete in high school, it was my way of, like, adding in exercise again if I had this thing that I had to train for and I had to hold myself accountable. It was, I had lost accountability. And I think that is the most common thing, is to feel like, okay, I have no discipline or accountability with exercise. What can I do to get myself to get out and do it more regularly? So that is something that I've done in the past. And what happened was I developed the worst patellar tendonitis that I think has ever happened on the planet of this earth. I was just crawling around campus. Like, I was in so much pain. I had to go to an athletic trainer and heal myself from my own self. But the difference between me signing up for a marathon, you and I signing up for a marathon this past year, was that foundation. I was already training. It was just a new challenge that I was adding on top. And so I didn't injure myself first and foremost, which I think is really important. But if you are somebody who is signing up for a race this year, do it the right way, and don't sign up for a race. This is just me trying to guide you in the right direction. Don't sign up for one 2 months, 3 months from now if you haven't already built or established some kind of foundation. Instead, plan for one in the fall so that you can do things the right way and slowly get your body to a place where it can handle that level of repetition, stress, fatigue.
So, the past 2 years, we have had some goal setting. We've scheduled some time to do some goal setting at the new year. And that's probably been the past 2 years of goal setting, is probably the only time I've taken
Mhm.
it as seriously as I have like previously. And even then, I wouldn't say that I've been great as far as systems go with my goal. Like, we did write down goals, and then I probably didn't do a great job navigating it after we wrote it down. But we did write down a marathon for 2025, and we did achieve
Mhm.
said goal. Maybe it didn't go exactly the way that we wanted it to, which is going to happen with so many goals. But I wanted to ask you, because
Mhm.
you signed up for a half marathon previously and you had a bad experience with it, and it was kind of done out of a negative place. It was really done because you
Mhm.
wanted to look a certain way. It was a way to get you into the gym and thinking you were going to have some
Yep.
accountability. It wasn't necessarily like, "Oh, I want to add." It wasn't just like this added challenge to your life.
It was superficial,
It was based
and it
on
was not.
superficial reasons.
Yes, it was. It was, I'm lazy. I used to be so fit and much thinner, and what's gonna help me get back into the gym, work off some calories, and avoid, it was the freshman year. No, yeah, maybe it was freshman year. The freshman 15, I was like, I need to find my way out of this lifestyle that somehow I found myself in, that's so different from when I had the accountability of being on a sports team and having practice and games and
Which
all of
you
that.
don't recommend people sign up for a race or whatever it is they're signing up for based on those reasons. What do you think the difference was signing up for this marathon this past year?
The way that I look at my training now is it offers me the opportunity to say yes to things that are really hard and to prove to myself that I can do them. So, a couple of years ago, I did rim to rim on the Grand Canyon. Last year was the marathon, and it had always been on my bucket list. My dad had done a marathon, and just a bucket list thing of like I really want to try and do that. Not only did I wanna try and do that, but I wanted to try and do it the right way. I wanted to do the training, the nutrition, all of the things. I wanted to do it properly. I wanted to use my education, my experience, everything that I've built going to school and training and, learning. I wanted to use it and put it to good use, and so probably took it on a little bit too intensely for my personality because I tend to be very all or nothing, black and white thinking. And I have had to work really, really hard to battle my subconscious that is that way, to try and be more balanced and have a more balanced approach and give myself a little bit more leeway and kindness with things. So, it was a challenge for that thinking, and it took me a while to even just recover, I think, physically, but also psychologically from the marathon. All that to say, this next year, I'm not running a marathon, it's not on my list, but what is on my list is to hike Mount Whitney, which we've
We
talked
have talked
about.
about it, which I said that I would be willing to do. And again, this is another part of our friendship that you will see unfold. But what you said about all or nothing, I think a lot of people in the new year, especially in the new year, fall into an all or nothing mindset. And it's not even just the new year, it's anytime new goals are set for whatever reason. You are really excited about this new thing for whatever reason, whether it's superficial reasons or you have a
Mhm,
deeper reason, you get really excited and you go full speed ahead at a goal, all or nothing. And then, usually,
mhm,
with an all or nothing mindset, progress comes fast because you're all or nothing. And then you hit a wall and then you go right back the opposite way. But it's really tempting to be all or nothing because you start seeing this progress so quickly versus taking baby steps, which
yep.
in hindsight, baby steps are great because you really do go very far. But when you're looking at it day to day, it looks like you're not doing very much. So, how did you handle that with your marathon? Because I know that you get really intense with things. And it is a battle for you to be like, no, this is not what we're doing this time.
I did and I didn't. Like, I really threw myself into the process, but what's different about me throwing myself into this versus when I was in college is like that foundation. Like, I had been strength training, I maintained that because I knew it was gonna be so important to injury prevention. I made sure I went out to eat. So, like, I had my burrito after our long run, like, every weekend. That's one thing that if I don't do it, I build up almost like this fear and anxiety around it. So, eating out is one of those things. Planning it in, like doing things that aren't quote unquote the most healthy things to do. Going out to eat is one of them for me, making sure I still incorporate all of the things that I love about my lifestyle outside of this event that I'm training for. And yes, maybe being very intense about, reading about, and studying up on and making sure I'm sleeping, making sure I'm recovering, making sure I'm doing the long runs, trying to find a way to enjoy it too at the same time. And I think I could have done more of that to help prevent the crash out that I had at the end of the marathon, at the end of the training. But I think that goes for anything that you train for. Like there's all this buildup, all of this anticipation, and then it happens. And then you're kind of sad that it's over and you don't really know what to do. And now you kind of feel directionless. And I definitely had that feeling. And I didn't anticipate having that feeling because I did have that foundation. I didn't think it would feel like such a shock to my system in a sense. I don't know if you felt that way after the marathon of like, "Oh, what do I do with myself now?" Or like, "What's
I think that
next?"
I did a little bit, but I don't think it affected me as much mentally as it did for you. Can I tell a quick story about how intense you can be with working out?
Yeah.
Okay, it was during
Yeah, sure,
marathon
of
training, and
course.
I'm sure you're gonna remember it as I say it. But you stayed with me and you were in an incredibly bad mood, and we had a run as we did basically every day. We had our Saturday run. Now, it wasn't that long of a run because the marathon was around the corner. I wanna say it was like 7 or 8 miles, and I know that does
I think it was 10.
okay,
I think it
maybe
was
it
10.
was 10. I don't think it was 10 though. I think it was like 7, and
Yeah.
you were in such a bad mood. You did not wanna go. Like, you actively did not wanna go, and I was like, "Hey, we don't have to go. Like, it's really not that big of a deal. It's not a big deal if we do this. Let's go run 3 miles." Like, it's really not a big deal. We'd already done all the training. Like, the marathon was around the corner. It wasn't like our 22-mile run that was like, "Well, no, you should probably do this one in your training plan." I was like, "Let's skip it. It's fine." You were like, "No, if I get there and I wanna cut it short, like, we can, we'll see." And I'm like, "Okay, really no big deal." And I think the run was like 7 miles, and I think by the time we got there, we had agreed we'd do like 5 miles instead. A little bit of something, but, like, you're not feeling so great, so we'll do 5. We tell our friend who gets there we're doing 5, she's like, "Great, not a big deal." We start running, Sam takes off. She takes off like gone, full force ahead. And she decided to run the entire 7 miles. She said, "Screw the 5 miles that we said. I'm gonna go the full 7." And I'm like, "Well, listen, I already said we're doing 5, so I'm just gonna do the 5. She can go do what she wants." And you were in a much better mood when you were done, exercise, endorphins, blah, 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 blah. All of that's true and real and it works. But that's just an example of you cannot, or not that you can't, you just don't like to lessen it for any reason. Like, you were like, "This is what it said I was
Yeah.
gonna do. I'm a little baby if I don't do it." That's what you start telling yourself. And for me, I'm like, "Whatever, like, it's not a big deal."
Yes, and that is one thing that we differ so much on. You're so good at giving yourself grace, and I struggle to do it, and I think that is something that I almost wanna, like, actively integrate into my life somehow and maybe create a challenge around that of, like, it's okay to do things not to the absolute, like, not the best of your ability, but it's okay to, like, adjust things instead of being like, "No, this is the plan, this is what I'm doing," and that's where that all or nothing mindset comes in, is like, if this is what I committed to and I don't do it, then it makes me feel a certain way, where you would, I would think, agree, like, that's not how
In
your mind
this
works.
scenario, which is crazy because I am a control freak in so many other aspects. But in my opinion, when it comes to fitness, all or nothing, it just doesn't make sense in my head because it's like, why do you think? No, I get it logically, but in my head, I'm like, why would you think that doing 5 miles, you might as well just not run at all? I guess that's where I come into it. It's like, it's still a win. You're still moving, you're still doing something, and
Yeah.
I think you're getting so much better with that in like your daily life. We were training for something specific, which does take a level of dedication than you would need to do in your day-to-day life. And that's something that I really felt with marathon training is there were a couple times where I didn't wanna do my run, I didn't wanna do my workout, but I made myself because of this end goal, because that's what happens when you are training for
Mhm.
something, versus in my normal daily life, I would've been like, "Well, I'm not gonna. I'm gonna do it tomorrow instead." I needed to be this level of intense and dedicated because of this end goal, whereas I feel like I've built such a strong foundation of listening to my body and being like, "No, that's okay. I don't have to do it." It felt like I easily could have fallen into a rabbit hole of letting this be the way that I operate now with this like scarcity mindset of like, no, I have to do it, which is what it felt like during the marathon because you're like, am I going to finish the marathon if I don't train for it? Or if I don't do my training perfectly, am I even going to be able to finish the marathon? That was a legit fear I had.
It was so out of both of our comfort zones. Like, for me, I know, like, I didn't okay, and this is not advisable, but I didn't train for rim to rim, which is 20 that's basically a marathon with so much elevation, but I knew I can walk that far. I just knew. Like, with my base level fitness, I knew I could do that. When it comes to a marathon, had genuine concern of, "Can I run for that long?" And I didn't wanna walk it, and there's no reason why that was a bad thing ever. I wanted to run a marathon, and so I set my sights on that, and I knew the training was important to perform at that level, and it coulda taken me 5 hours to run it, it could take me 4, like, that didn't matter. I wanted to run it, and I didn't want to have my training not allow me for me to do that. And also with recovery and injury prevention. A lot of people can do a lot of things, but what is the result of doing
You were
that without the
very you
training?
were very fearful
Injuries.
of getting injured during this training. That was on your mind, almost number 1 thing on your mind was doing this in a way that doesn't get
Yeah.
me injured, probably from your past of getting injured while you were training for a half marathon.
Yep.
And I
Yep.
think for a lot of people, they can do a lot of things, but are you gonna get injured in
Mhm.
the process?
And getting injured comes from overtraining, so basically going from 0 to 100 with your training, and also underfueling. People undervalue nutrition so often, and especially in a race style training program, you're expending so many calories, and it really should be, I mean, it shouldn't be your full-time job. I kinda made it mine.
Do you think that for any of your New Year's resolutions over the years, would you say you've failed some?
Yeah, all the time. In fact, I think that's, like, part of the fun of, like, a New Year's resolution. I look back at some of my lists because 'cause they're all in my phone, like, my notes app. I can just search New Year's resolutions, and they'll pop up, and I just think it's so funny and, like, also fun to be like, "Who is that girl? Like, what was she thinking?" I mean, they're usually pretty tame, but, I mean, last year I wanted to use my points. I have a Chase credit card for travel, and I wanted to be able to use my points on something fun, and I didn't make it happen this year, but it's still on my list. Like, it's something that I want to do. Obviously, it wasn't a priority. Otherwise, I would have made more of an effort to get it done. But I like creating New Year's resolutions just to even look back and be like, what were the things that mattered to me 5 years ago? What were the things that I wanted? And also, some of them happen. Like some of the, I can't name a specific one, but some of my resolutions, let's say from like 2020, I forgot about, but now I have. So that's like the thoughts become things mentality, mindset, manifestation. Like, I truly think if you put something on your radar, and there's so many different ways to navigate to get there. Like, sometimes it's just like on the back of your mind, and sometimes it happens anyway. But because I wrote it down, I set the direction. Like, somehow I got there without even being intentional?
Intentional.
No, intentional about getting there.
I
Intentional
think
about getting there. So,
I
I think it's
think
really
that's what ends
powerful.
up happening to me is that's kinda how I use it. I'm just gonna say what I actually do is manifest and instead of goal set because, I mean, I've probably failed most of my New Year's resolutions because 'cause I've never gone back and looked at them, so how could I have achieved I mean, I maybe achieved them, but if I forgot about them, I probably failed them.
Maybe you've achieved all of
We don't
them.
know,
We
but
don't
I
know.
probably have failed many, many, many of them. And what I think I do a little bit is writing it down puts it in the back of my mind, and then now it's like this seed that's
Mhm.
been planted, and it's like a form of manifesting. But I know that I could go a lot further in a lot of different ways. If I had some systems to pair with the goals, then I probably would actually achieve said goals.
Or faster or just more intentionally as opposed to being like, "Wow, like, that really great thing happened. Oh, I actually wanted it to happen 5 years ago? Crazy." What would you say to somebody who feels like they've already failed at their New Year's
There's
goal,
something
New
that
Year's
I say quite
resolution?
often when it comes to fitness, which is you can't fail a fitness journey. I like to say this over and over to people because I think a lot of people feel like they fail. And I actually recently heard that January 9th, I think it's the 9th, is called Quitters Day. And it's where majority of people who set New Year's resolutions have already quit said resolutions. And I like to say you can't fail a fitness journey, or sometimes we say, like, I fell off track. You can't fail it as long as you keep going. So maybe the first week didn't go the way you wanted it to go. Why can't it just restart right now? Why can't you just pick it up? right this second. And I'm not saying Monday and I'm not saying next month. I'm literally saying right now. You could go fill up your water bottle if that was your goal to start drinking more water. You could go out for a walk right now. I think taking action is what prevents you from failing.
Are there times that you feel like you've failed at something, or do you have a completely different narrative when it comes to taking a break from training or from following your typical
I mean, there are plenty
nutrition
of times where I've
routines?
gotten off routine, which I guess is how I explain it. I usually just say, I'm out of my routine. Maybe I say I fell off track, but I don't even really use that word that much, anyways, because what is the track? Like, there is no one way, there is no set track for your fitness journey. So I usually just say off routine. And that usually looks like traveling, holidays, whatever it is. You're just not doing the normal thing that you would do from your day to day regular schedule. So I call it getting off my routine.
Mhm.
And I would say for me, I number 1, give myself grace. I realize that a week, 2 weeks is really not the end of the world, and it's really not that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things. I saw this thing over the holidays and it said, what you do from Christmas to the new year isn't nearly as important as what you do from the new year to Christmas. And we tend to stress ourselves out with times like that. We're on vacation for a week. We have the holidays, for 2 weeks from Christmas to New Year. It's, summer break and you're gone for 2 weeks. You start stressing about these moments in time when in reality, it's what you're doing in the bigger picture than what you're doing in that small amount of time, even though what we focus on is that small amount of time. So, long story short, I call it getting off of routine. I've gotten off of my routine plenty of times. And the thing that I do to get back into it is take action. What can you start with right this second that's going to make you feel good? Go for a walk, drink some water, have some protein, those little things that you can start in the moment that make you realize, like, no, I got this. I'm going to be able to go right back into my routine.
We're rebranding failure for 2026, me specifically. Not that I ever, well, yes, I still have that almost subconscious pull of like using the word failure when ultimately it's not. It's a learning opportunity or it's a perspective shift where you learn to value your healthy habits that help you feel really good. But yeah, rebranding failure, I think, is a really strong thing to like try to do. And that's in a lot of things, like rebranding or, adjusting the way that you look at things is where big change starts to develop and shift. And we all, I think, can be a little
So we're
kinder
not
to
going to say
ourselves.
failure. We're going to
I
say
think that
learning opportunity.
right. Or reset. Or I don't know. Do we
Yeah,
like
but I
reset?
don't think that it applies to every scenario.
Right, like, you're not resetting every time you take a break. It's like 75 hard. You can't just reset 75 hard. Well, no, you have to. If you do that stupid challenge, you have to literally start from day 1, even if you, quote, unquote, "fail" on
Which is
day 74.
really tough for me to wrap
Which
my
is
head
so
around.
silly. Those are the things that just I mean, you get big results, like you were saying, when you commit really hard to something, but it's so unsustainable. Truly, the most sustainable progress is the slowest, and, of course, that's not hot, that's not
It's not
sexy, but it
exciting.
is
And
the
this
truth.
conversation comes around every single year about this challenge. A lot of people who do it think that other people don't understand it, like why they're doing it, and everyone can do whatever they want to do. But I just know for me personally, I
Mhm.
worry that it would lead me to a place I don't want to be led to at the end of that, which is now having this feeling that if I'm not doing all of these things, then I'm failing, which of course is just not true.
No, and ultimately, I think you're gonna, quote, unquote, "fail" for your entire life. There's always gonna be times where you take breaks, and then you come back reinvigorated, and we should value those instead of
Agreed.
calling them a bad
2026,
name.
we no longer call it a failure. I think we should help people goal set for this year, for myself included. I'm going to do this as well because I can absolutely use all the tips when it comes to goal setting. But let's talk about goal setting. Let's talk about how we can actually achieve said goals this year.
So, setting your goals, do you want me to walk you through how I would coach goal setting?
Sure. Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay, so this is something that I have learned to do through courses I've taken, and I've taken that and this very powerful thing that I've learned to do, and I've helped other people do it because I think it is so empowering and powerful. So often we focus first on the tiny details. I want to run a race. I want to lose 10 pounds. I want to be this size. Those are the tiny details, but we need to look at the big picture first. So, what is the word that this year is going to stand for? You know, what is your powerful, the word that's going to get you out the door to do the thing that you don't want to do? In the past, words like confidence or empowerment or abundance, fulfillment, those are the words that have meant a lot to me that I've wanted to kind of root into and have that be the focus of the year. The next thing that I have everybody do is to create 4 categories. So, because we are not one thing as humans, we are a bunch of different things. There's a lot of things that make us happy, healthy, fulfilled, and that's not just something that happens in the kitchen or at the gym. So, 4 categories: body, so that's going to be your physical fitness, your nutrition, your sleep, your stress, your being, so more of your emotional state, your, mental happiness, mental health, and then balance is going to be your family, your friends, your social self, and then business is obviously financial. How are you going to support those things? Do you have any financial goals? So you can boil down that big word into 4 categories because again, we are more than just one thing. And what I find is that because often we focus on the tiny details of this larger picture is we forget about the other categories that is really what drives sustainability.
I think that oftentimes we just write too many goals down. And I know that doesn't seem like a bad thing, but it can cause overwhelm. You get a little chaos in there. And then usually you're not focusing on the goals anymore because you wrote down so many things, you don't even know where to start. So I think having categories, and I think the categories can be anything you want. I think 4 or 5 is a really good amount. Something fun, something fitness, something mindset related, maybe like learning, like picking up a new skill or a new hobby, career. Find those like 5 categories and then break it down from there so that you don't feel overwhelmed by your goals.
Exactly. So you have your big word at the top, you have your categories of things that help you feel like yourself and that you want to improve upon. And then you start to think about the details of those things. So, what's going to help me feel physically empowered or confident? What are those details? Now we're starting to bring in the details, and you get to be a little bit more specific. You could be, let's say, actually saw this on TikTok, loved it. It was this girl saying, this woman, she said, what maybe your New Year's resolutions aren't bad, they're just boring. So, for one of them I loved was and I don't know what bucket this would necessarily fill, but she's like, "What if you carried birdseed to befriend the local crows with you,
Wait, that's right
and
up
you
my
just every
alley.
once in a while scattered them around," or once
That's right up my
I know, I
alley.
thought of you.
Okay, I really do think having some fun ones will really help so that you don't dread your goals, of course. But after the categories, getting specific on what you want to put in there. And I think getting specific is great. I think you have to find this middle ground of ambition and doable. Goals should be ambitious.
Mm,
Goals, you want to shoot
yes.
for the stars, but also you want to achieve your goals because it number 1, it feels good and it builds your confidence. It builds confidence in yourself knowing that when I set out for something, I am going to achieve it. So finding that middle ground, getting real with yourself and saying, "No, I know myself," and setting a real middle ground of ambition and doable goal, being specific with it. So what does specific look like? Can you give us an example?
For which category?
Let's do fitness.
For fitness. So, specific could be, I mean, ultimately, this is a question to everybody listening. Do you think that the most empowered, confident, fulfilled version of yourself needs a race to achieve that? Maybe, maybe not. So, maybe a race is or isn't a detail or a finer detail that you want to include in your New Year's resolutions. Maybe it's not that deep and you just want to do it. Also, fine. But being realistic, like Alex said, of how you're going to get there. So if you're someone who hasn't been training the last few months and you pick up a program and you're going to start it in the middle because you only have a few weeks until race day, probably not the smartest, nor is going back into training after taking a huge chunk of time off and expecting to perform at the level you left off at. That is one thing that I have had to really like drop my own self down to reality on of yeah, I have these numbers in my head of what I should do for 8 reps or 10 reps or whatever. My first week of a program, I'm taking it easy.
So you
Yes.
need a game plan, you need
Okay.
systems, you need a way that you're going to achieve the goal. You need your game plan. I wrote a little example if you want me to go over it of if someone had this goal, this is what they would do from there. So if it was under the fitness category, let's
Would
say
love.
before you get specific under fitness, you write that you want to get fit, which honestly for a lot of people might be your goal right now, which is okay. We are not here to say whether what your goal should be. Let's say you want to get fit. Now we need to get specific. So, what does fit mean to you? Because that's so general. Fit means something to it means something different to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So, let's say that fit means that you want to look good
Yep.
and you want to feel athletic. You want to be able to run a mile. So, what you're going to do is you're going to then make your game plan. So, depending on what look good means to you, you're going to find a training plan that supports whatever your goals are, and you're going to figure out how many days a week you're going to go to the gym, and then you're going to schedule that into your calendar. You're going to make it an appointment with yourself. Then you're gonna maybe plan your meals on Saturday, you're gonna grocery shop on Sunday, you're gonna meal prep on Sunday, and then maybe your last part of your game plan is you're gonna get 7 hours of sleep each night. That is a way for you every single day of the week to have your system that you're gonna check off to support the goal that you made. And then maybe at the end of the week or at the end of the month, you do a little review. You're like, how am I doing on this goal? And I think that the review process is almost one of the most important parts of it because otherwise you're like me and you never reviewed your goal again. And then you have no way to track where you are or how you're
Mhm.
doing on the goal. But that's what I mean by get as specific as you can. The number of the days that you're going to go to the gym, scheduling it into your calendar, the day you're going to meal prep, because the more
Mhm.
specific you are, the less room for forgetting about that goal.
I would also even encourage people to add in like more specific goals that they want, which could be improving your VO2 max. That's a longevity marker that I think everybody should keep their eyes on a little bit, which also can translate into, improving your sprint speed, improving your recovery between sprints, feeling really good doing sprints or feeling really good with a mile or 2 miles, like having that like a little bit more specific training and fitness goal that you can kind of keep your eye on. Again, it's probably not the most popular, as you're saying. I think a lot of people lean into looking a certain way as their primary marker or goal. But I also think that it's so subjective. It's such a subjective goal that it's really going to be easy for you to think that you're not making progress. Or let's say you set the goal of, I want to sleep 7 hours a night, and one night you get 5 hours sleep, and you're like, I'm a failure. Well, just make it up the next few nights, right? Like there, and that goes for everything. Like let's say you say, I'm going to train 3 days a week, you skip one of your days, like split it in half and move it to another day, or try and add on an extra day of training. And I do that all the time where I am like rolling things over. I did my sprint workout this week, but I missed the course. So I'm going to do that on another day, maybe before my yoga class. I'll squeeze it in, right? Like and that is one way that I think I have grown in my perception of success versus failure, or the rebrand would be
Learning
taking a break. Or what did we
opportunity.
say the rebrand was? I forgot. Learning opportunity. But I think, I mean, to what you're saying, like reverse engineer, be specific about what that means. And then let's say you want to run a mile at a certain pace, or you have a goal that's bigger than that, or you want to be able to squat 200 pounds. Okay, if you want to squat 200 pounds, when do you want to squat 190 by? When do you want to squat 180 by? And then kind of reverse engineer that and figure out what your markers are.
Probably the number one thing that you do before you start getting specific with your goals is figuring out your why behind each goal. And I think from there is how you lay out your game plan. And your why can be whatever you want it to be, it's whatever it means to you. But having the deeper reason versus those surface level reasons will take you so much further. It's how you show up on the days you don't want to, it's how you get there when motivation is low. So that is the number one thing you do. And the reason I said the goal of getting fit and looking good, which is going to mean something different to everybody. You have to figure out what that means to you. Having that why behind it is what's really going to take you further. It's what takes it from it being surface level to a little bit deeper. So maybe you do have a goal of looking good. You're going to figure out what that means. Maybe it means you want to have some muscle on you. Maybe it means you're going to go into a calorie deficit this year and it's your first time diving into that, and you can have those goals. There's nothing wrong with those goals, but having the deeper reason, it's what's really going to carry you.
What would you say is your why for why you show up at the gym? Like recently you've gotten really into yoga. Like why do you prioritize movement? Like what gets you out the door when you don't want to, or even in the nutrition field or the nutrition realm? Like what holds you to grocery shopping for specific things?
I think I really do have, or I did have a leg up with my own parents who have modeled that for me my entire life of being really active, who are still very, very active. And I want to be active for as long as I possibly can be. I want to feel good for as long as I possibly can feel good. Yoga for me really helps my mind feel good. Like it's a new challenge with my mind. Weights gives me a whole different scenario. It's about, especially for women, like it's so important for us to be lifting weights, lifting heavy. Our muscle mass is incredibly important. And then running's another one for me where it really is just a mental challenge and so good for your heart. For me, all of these help me build the foundation of feeling good for a very long time. I think that's why I'm not so hard on myself with the all or nothing mindset, because it is this bigger reason. It's not just surface level the way I look. Like I do want to look good. I think when you feel good, you look good. And I think it kind of plays off of each other. But I think that's why I give myself some grace, because I realize it's this long term goal. It's a very, very long term goal. And I have a long time to work on it, or hopefully a long time to work on it. What about you?
Yeah, the only thing I would add is like I get so much empowerment from being capable and being independent. And I mean, the mental clarity that I feel when my body is in emotion is something that I value above most things. I know if I get injured, if I get sick, I I miss it. Like I crave it. My body, my mind, like it is my meditation, it is my release, it's my stress relief, it is the counter to the most toxic thoughts I've ever had about myself of being the smallest is the best version of me. Nobody will love me or think I'm attractive if I'm bigger or if, I'm not this tiny little human. And strength training and building muscle has taught me to not only value the strength of my body but also to prioritize it because I feel my best, as you were saying.
We're just trying to feel good for a long time and hoping that we can help you realize that fitness, health, wellness, all of that can feel good and be something that adds to your life versus feels like, restricting or feel like it's hindering your life. So don't be like me and don't write goals that you 1000% never check again. And then maybe don't be like Sam and set goals from this negative headspace. We're going to set goals from a positive headspace. We're going to create systems and then we're going to achieve the goals. Thank you for tuning in to episode 1. We're so excited to have this podcast. We're so excited to build this community. Please let us know anything you want us to chit chat about. You can reach us at Feelin Good Pod on Instagram,
D.
FeelingGoodPod on Instagram. Let us know anything you want us to chat about, and we'll see you next week.
That is it for today. Take what you need from this episode, leave the rest, and trust that you're doing better than you think. Thank you for being here. If you liked this episode, please rate and review. We'll talk to you soon. And until then, keep feeling good.